Business News Now. My name is Abi Agina. Kenya's quest to become food secure will remain a mirage unless urgent, deliberate incentives and policy interventions that effectively respond to the impediments in these sectors impacting food and nutritional security are taken seriously. This is according to the report by Route to Food initiative that highlighted the shortcomings of the recently tabled 2018-2019 budget to the agricultural sector.
According to the report, which comprehensively analyzed the 2018-2019 budget from a right of food perspective, allocations to the food and nutrition security was a paltry 3.54% of the national government expenditure, despite this sector being one of the pillars under the government Big Four priority development agenda.
We have a massive figure of 1.9 billion that we need to divvy up. We need to actually allocate that cake. So that's a very big cake. And to our surprise, very little of this cake actually goes towards that fundamental right I mentioned before, which is the right to food. According to Alex Owino, the author of the report, the budget lacks explicit policies, programs, and comprehensive physical initiatives to address constitutionally guaranteed human rights to food. Very little. If you look at livestock, basically 6 billion shillings, that's petty cash. If you look at crop development, 25 billion. That is smaller than even NYS. I think they're getting 25 billion to waste around. If you look at fisheries, aquaculture, and the blue economy, that is nothing to write home about 3 billion shillings. The report also faults the budget statement for its various contradicting proposals, which, if implemented, will disproportionately negatively affect small-scale farmers. Two such proposals include the removal of interest rate caps and classification of fuel and oil as VAT exempt, which in turn raises financial costs for the sector despite government pledge to make affordable credit available.
The other problem that we've created is this institutional mess around agriculture. You devolve it, but you keep the money in the treasury. You keep the money behind, but you're saying, I'm giving you this, but you just play around with it and come back, let's talk. Given that agriculture is a devolved function, the report advocates for allocation of up to 50% of the 6.24 billion shillings conditional cash transfers to county governments to be specifically spent on food and nutrition security programs. If I were to spend Rotich's 39 billion, I would put 75% of that budget in the hands of farmers. At the same time, the Route to Food initiative called for the adoption and dissemination of the implementation framework for the food and nutrition security policy, which was released this year by the Ministry of Agriculture. Philip Keitan, KTN News.
Kenya has in the recent past been struggling with a trade of counterfeit goods that has put people's lives in danger. The main victims also being motor vehicle traders and their customers. Generic parts are a lot of times said to be imported by unscrupulous traders from the Far East. Julia Wino has more.
The influx of counterfeit automobile spare parts in the Kenyan market has been on the rise. Customers have been victims, as have been some of the traders and mechanics who sell them in genuine spare parts. Kefa Momanyi has been in the mechanic business for close to 5 years in Mwiki in Kasarani. He says he does not deal in fake parts and will never use them on a client's car. We started by asking him what is the first thing he does when customers come here.
Akikuja lazima usikize customer, shida ya customer. Sisi ni kama madaktari wa watoto.
And how can we genuinely tell when a product is genuine or not?
Hii ni ungenuine na this is genuine. Hii ukitumia hii I rust wrong. Unaweza fanya service after 2 weeks tena bado oil ina leak. That's why ina cost paka unapata gari zina knock engine. Hii ukitumia hii ina last to service. So that's why I prefer to be genuine.
Julius Mwangi from Isuzu, East Africa, one of the dealers, says security of customers should be a key priority to anyone in the industry. Training is also necessary for all interested parties on selling spare parts and also when one is interested in being a mechanic.
And to avoid any time them having non-genuine parts, we do frequent monitoring and training them and showing them the benefit of never ever using or always using genuine parts.
Many customers prefer interacting more with insurance companies.
Whenever a customer has, unfortunate, it requires to do vehicles to be repaired due to the insurance or due to the accident. What we do, we have engaged them, explained to them, and invariably they have realized it is cheaper to go through our deal outlet.
As some customers are fighting counterfeit from one end, others seem to be pulling from the other direction as well. The pull and push game is brought about by those who prefer cheap to expensive. For example, the oil lubricant that can give service for 5,000 kilometers goes for 1,800 Kenyan shillings. The fake one goes for 1,000 shillings.
Especially so for the matatus and for all the trucks, the cost is higher than when you use genuine parts. Why? Because it takes longer for you to go service the vehicle when you are using the genuine parts. When you are using the genuine parts, you have to frequently do it. And we have calculated and realized for a matatu, you have a saving of around 1,000 in a year when you are using genuine parts.
Counterfeiting in automobile parts therefore has caused adverse economic harm, defraud to consumers, unfair competition to legitimate business, and has posed a danger to public health and safety. Hence the concern on the study of counterfeited spare parts. Julie Owino, KTN News.
Indeed, it's always difficult to tell from the original from the fakes. Well, to our last story for this evening now, and the capital markets industry has agreed to work with other stakeholders in a joint strategy to enhance product uptake and improve listings at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. This is in line with aspirations to meet the objectives of the 10-year capital markets master plan, which spans from 2014 to 2023. In a joint statement, CMA Chief Executive Officer Paul Mudaura and the NSE CEO Geoffrey Odundo confirmed that the capital markets industry is committed to the joint strategy to address the national concerns around low listings and product uptake, a situation which could adversely affect key national development goals. The industry initiative comes on the back of a recent study conducted by CMA on low uptake of capital markets products and listings and the proposal by the NSE to implement a rapid mass visibility strategy. Well, on that note, that's where we wrap it up for the business news this evening. Moses Wahisi is coming up next with the sports news. And right now, we understand that one of the big games, England versus Colombia, still ongoing. And the scores are 0-0. All that after the break.